Fiat has had some success selling electric cars. Its 500e has been a bestseller in its class, grabbing 15% of the European market. The company is finally following up the success of its smaller car with a bigger model. It's called the 600e, and it also signals the final bringing in of Fiat into the Stellantis fold. Before we tell you more about the 600e though, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. A lot of current cars, battery electric or not, have become quite angular in appearance, but it's reassuring that Fiat has kept to its curvy brand identity with the 600e. It looks like the 500X, but it's not a successor. It's built on a different platform and is a little bit shorter and lower. These subtle differences make the 600e look less chunky, and not so much like a Fiat 500 that has been eating too many pies. The 600e also marks Fiat being brought fully into the Stellantis fold. This car has the ECMP2 platform. That's exactly the same platform as the Jeep Avenger, and we'll see there are other similarities inside the car as well. That means this is a front-wheel drive car with 154 horsepower and a 54 kilowatt-hour battery. The trim options are simple. There's the basic red trim, like other Fiat cars, and the premium La Prima, which we have here. The La Prima comes with a lot more tech, which we'll discuss a bit later in this review. The standard red trim colour is, surprise surprise, red, but you can also choose white and black. La Prima comes in orange as standard, with options for sand blue and this rather attractive colour, which is actually green. All optional colours are surprisingly £600. The red has 16-inch steel wheels with bicolour covers, whereas the La Prima has 18-inch diamond cut alloys. So in summary, the 600e has some of the cuteness of the 500e, but in a bigger package. Let's take a look inside. The 600e La Prima has a reasonable sense of quality and Italian style inside. However, the seats are synthetic leather, and while they have a premium feel, they are a bit cold when you get onto them. On the La Prima trim, the driver's seat is electrically adjusted, and both front seats are heated. There's even a massage function for the driver, albeit lower back only. This central console is also borrowed from the Jeep Avenger, like the drivetrain. You get this flap which feels quite nice, but you wonder if it's going to break at these hinges, and it's a bit annoying having to put it up here. So that is a wireless charger for the phone, and then you've got USB ports above it and a 12-volt car power adapter. You get these cup holders which you can actually change the size of, and then behind it under the seatrest is another small cubby. And now we start to get to some of the negatives about this car. While there's a reasonable amount of headroom, the knee room is really cramped. So if you've got a 6-foot 5-year-old in the back here, there's not going to have much room. This middle seat doesn't actually double as an armrest either, so there are no cup holders built in. And there are no actual pockets in the rear doors either, so there's nothing for you to put a drink in there either. There are no rear air conditioning vents and just one USB port, so you're going to have to toss a coin to see who gets to use it in the back. You do get these ISOFIX points on both outer rear seats, but none on the front, so it's 2 children only. There's also no sunroof to add to the sense of space in the back. I wonder what the Italian is for claustrophobia. You do get these seat back pockets, however, for your kids to put their copies of The Life and Times of Benito Mussolini, or whatever it is kids read these days. So this boot is supposedly, oh there we go, it actually worked. So that is a hands-free kit, that's a La Prima only, and without the rear seats down, this space is 360 litres. You get a little bit of extra under, kind of a useful space underneath where you can put some cables. So that boot space is a bit less than a Peugeot E2008, but more than a Vauxhall Mokka E, and definitely more than a Volvo EX30. Now if you drop these rear seats forward, and they've got a 60-40 arrangement, this increases to 1,231 litres, and if that seat had actually gone down properly, that would have been a reasonably flat space as well. That space is behind a VW ID3 though, so this is really just a hatchback space, even though it's supposedly a compact SUV. If you had the headrest in a sensible position, it would actually go down, but only just because of that really limited knee room in the back. You can't extend the rear cargo space either because the 600e can't tow, whereas the 500X can. Although Stellantis has improved the battery size and efficiency with the ECMP2 platform, it's still only 54 kilowatt hours and 51 kilowatt hours usable. That gives you a maximum mixed cycle WLTP rating of 254 miles, which is a lot more than you got with those first ECMP2 cars of a few years ago. Efficiency isn't too bad. I drove this car up and down the M1 and I got 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour going up and 3.4 coming down. So you're going to get about 174, 175 miles of real world range on a motorway. That isn't stunning, but at least this car has a heat pump, which means you won't lose quite so much in cold weather. The DC charger goes up to 100 kilowatts, taking 27 minutes to go from 20 to 80%. That means you're probably going to stop approximately every 100 miles for about half an hour on a really long distance journey. There is actually 11 kilowatt AC, so you can go from 0 to full in under 6 hours with a fast enough charger, although a typical 7 kilowatt home box will take more like 8 hours. While the central console is from a Jeep Avenger, the Fiat 600e borrows a steering wheel from the 500e. You get cruise control buttons on the left, and the conventional stalk above it is for indicators and lights. The right hand buttons are for media control, and the stalk on the right is for windscreen wipers. There are a few extra buttons on the right hand side. Fiat hasn't adopted the integrated wraparound display of the Peugeot E3008. The instrument and infotainment panel are separate but both digital. All the drive controls are in a row of buttons on the dashboard, which takes a little getting used to, but it's actually a pretty good system. There's a rocker for the 3 power modes, Eco, Normal and Sport, and a separate electric parking brake, which is actually kind of handy because this car doesn't support auto hold. You start the car by hitting the brake and pressing this engine start stop button. The digital dashboard display gives you the speed, and there's a kind of charge regeneration dial along the top, some ADAS functions in the middle, and then you can just about see the range and battery status and odometer on the bottom. This area is really quite busy. You've got lots of different functions, including the boot release there. There's a lot, considering that there's nothing there to even control a sunroof. There is a full range of buttons to operate the climate control, although some functions like the heated seats require a trip to the 10-inch infotainment screen. So let's take a look at that now. The best word to describe Fiat infotainment is mediocre. It isn't always obvious how to navigate the interface. So you get this touch method for going between these 3 screens. However, if you want to go back, you actually have to use a button underneath. So you can see that takes you right back. And you've got the radio, and there are some controls for the climate control, music, stations there, but how do I get back out of that screen? Have to go to that button. Not exactly intuitive. Scrolling along, you've got this reasonably nice screen with a sat nav. This sat nav is excellent. It's TomTom derived, but you only get that in the Prima version, and it is live. It has live services like traffic on it. And then this area, it's useful functions like you can see the energy and the statistics of the car. Again, you see if I want to go back, I have to press that button. Mirror screen, so that you can see it supports Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is kind of handy, but you actually need to use USB, and it's also wireless as well. If we go back to here, you can see you can actually have a full screen of the navigation. Some other things. There's also an application drawer where you can add other things, including games, which I haven't really. Tic-tac-toe. So not exactly the same as a Tesla, but at least you have a few things to play while you're waiting for your kids to show up from their practice. This is where you change the heated seats, which is maybe a little bit counterintuitive when almost everything else is available, and the massage function via separate buttons. You've got some voice control as well, phone functions there, and you can adjust a very small number of the lane functions and ADAS controls there, which we'll talk about a bit later in this review. The Fiat 600e is not particularly quick for an EV. It takes a full 9 seconds to get to 62 miles per hour. But there will be a more powerful Abarth version of the 600e coming at some point this year. Handling is somewhat soggy, although the ride quality is actually pretty good. The 600e feels light and manoeuvrable about town, which is probably where it's mostly meant to be. However, it also feels planted on the motorway. So while the range isn't exactly outstanding, you will at least arrive in reasonable comfort. Fiat has equipped even the basic red version of the 600e with a decent range of safety tech. There's traffic sign recognition and autonomous braking, including pedestrian and cyclist recognition. You get lane departure warning and lane keeping assistance. You even get warned if the driver's attention is lapsing too. The Prima upgrade adds a 180-degree rear view camera and ultrasonic sensors front, rear and side. There's blind spot detection, which is signalled by the orange LED on the end of the wing mirror. The Prima also has level 2 autonomous driving, which is adaptive cruise control that also includes lane centering. This means you can let the car do the steering, although you will have to keep your hands on the wheel. However, the 600e doesn't have a Euro NCAP rating yet. One of the most attractive aspects of the 500e was it wasn't actually that expensive. The 600e isn't hideously expensive, but it is quite a bit more expensive than the 500e. Even the red version starts at just under 33,000. The Prima we have here costs a fiver under 37,000. Again, that's not terrible, but bear in mind that you can buy an MG4 extended range for less, and that's faster and goes further. The Smart #1 Premium is only a little bit more expensive, and that has a bit more range, is faster, and you get more space inside too. The basic warranty is a standard Fiat one of 3 years for unlimited miles, but a lot of vendors give you a lot more than that these days. The battery also has a typical 8-year warranty for 100,000 miles. Overall, the 600e is an extortioner, but it's certainly a long way from a bargain as well. And for a £38,000 car, the audio is also distinctly average. So let's get back to that reversing camera. Press the reverse button, pops up there, first of all with the sensor view, and then you can see not such a bad 180-degree view. You get a top-down view as well. There are quite a few things to like about the Fiat 600e. It certainly managed to maintain some of that Fiat style while still being a compact SUV. The ride is reasonably comfortable, and while it's not exceptionally good value, the price is not absolutely hideous. However, range and performance are behind the competition. The boot space and particularly the rear seat space are also behind other options. The Fiat 600e sits reasonably well alongside other Stellantis options, but there are a lot of alternatives you should consider instead. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel.